welcome to Drive Faster. You never hear that in real life, but that's what we are. We're going to learn all about Drive, and I cannot wait for this session because you're like, Desiree, you're a Google expert. First of all, nobody's a Google expert, but second of all, I haven't even played with some of these things that Kate is going to show us, so I'm so excited. Drive faster. Okay. So who am I, you may be asking? Like, who are you, crazy lady? I'm Dr. Desiree Alexander. I am your host and sponsor for today through Educator Alexander Consulting, my consulting company. And this is how you can contact me. So contact me if you have any questions. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, unfortunately, you cannot get their certificate of participation, but you can get all of the knowledge. And right under the video, if you click on show more, or if you click on the little arrow, depending on where you're watching it, you can get the resource for today. So if you're like, I want that resource, it's there, it's waiting on you. Yay. Here are some of the upcoming webinars that we have next weekend. The amazing Tanya is coming on back to talk about trauma-informed care for educators. And that's one that I am truly waiting on because we've gone through so much trauma this year. I'm waiting for that one. So next weekend, March 27th, sign up for that. And if you haven't seen the rest of her series, you want to see it. All the YouTube is all in the same place when you register. Then we have No Fear, Google Sheets are here. It's by me. And it's through GEG Global. So there actually is no registration. You just go click on the link and you watch it. And then we have Creating with Littles, April 3rd. Even if you're not a Littles teacher, you can come join us. You can always modify, but we want to do something for our Littles teachers. So there you go. And then I'm going to be speaking about the digital equity cycle on the Heartland Area Education Agency webinar series on April 8th. And then we have the Power Of Conference where I will be doing a keynote. We have engaging families in a socially distanced world in May, inclusive collections, TGIF, then Google is free, jamming with Jamboard. This is a new one that we just added, and they're all on the same website for you to register. We have amplifying thinking routines using technology tools. We have what? Wait. What? Yes, Sarah Kiefer is coming back this summer with a second webinar series. Last summer, she did Google intro to all the different Google apps. Now she's showing you how to level up with Google tools. So now she's going to show you kind of level 2, how to smash them, how to do some unique things with them. Man, you thought it was over, but it's not. Sign up for it this summer. Inclusion Tech Hacks. This is another new one. We just released this one. So yay. And that's going to be in July. Creating your digital library. And then Ed Change Global registration is open. So we are so excited. Last time it's like, oh, just save the date, but we are open. You want to present there? Sign up. You want to sponsor? Get your company some, what do you want to say? Some promotion. You have that book that you want to promote, sponsor. And then, of course, attend free. The original 24-hour virtual conference is back. Go to the website and sign up. Financial literacy. I need that. I just balanced my checkbook. I need that. Financial literacy for educators. Back to school with Bunsey. Woo, woo. And then we have infusing digital reading, writing tools for however you teach. Remote, blended, face-to-face. She's going to have everything for you. So there you go. We have so many webinars. Oh, right? You're like, man, I want to sign up for all of them. Do it. Go to the website. Sign up for all of them. But we are ready to get started, and we are ready to drive faster.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate Applebee. I'm a teacher librarian at Grand Terrace High School in Southern California. This is my 18th year in education, only my 3rd year as a teacher librarian, so there's still a lot to learn there. But I was using Google Docs way before Drive even existed. I remember using it at my previous school because I thought it was a fascinating way to provide feedback and collaboration for my English scholars. And then we became a Google district and a whole world opened up and Drive opened up. And I love playing with my Google tools. So I'm really excited to share how you can get to your files and your folders faster in Drive, because it can be a little bit of a hassle depending on what your Drive looks like. So keeping Drive organized is an ongoing process. It's not just a one and done. You have to keep up with it all the time. It's like laundry. Just has to be done weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, depending on how many people are in your household. Google Drive is the same way. So it doesn't matter what organization, where you are in your organization of your Drive, because these tips are going to work for super organized drives and drives that aren't very organized. So the ways to drive faster that we'll talk about: AI predicted files, priority in workspaces, starred, some renaming hacks, and adding a shortcut, and why you might want to add a shortcut. So we're going to start with AI predicted files. And I will be doing a mix between live demo and my presentation. So know that you will get to play as well. The AI predicted files, there are two places that this shows up in your Drive. One is the quick access on the My Drive page, and that's that top image. The second one is in priority. There's a row of AI predicted files. Quick access only shows 3 predicted files, and you need to enable it. The top row in priority will show 10 predicted files. I happen to like priority because I get to see 10 predicted files versus the 3, but it's all personal preference. But you do want to remember that the AI predicts files on a variety of factors. The 3 main being who specific files are frequently shared with, when relevant meetings are, and if there are files attached to those meetings, and what files are accessed at specific times of the day. So, some just reminders about AI predicted files for you. Any questions in the chat, Dr. Alexander, about AI predicted files?
None so far.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about priority and workspaces. Priority, and this is a huge kind of caveat, is not available to free Google accounts. So if you have a free Google account, you will not see priority in your Drive, unfortunately. It is only rolled out to the paid Google accounts, whether that is an education one, a nonprofit, a business. So if you're looking at your Google Drive and you're like, I don't have priority, it might be because you have a free Google account. Now, priority began rolling out in March 2019. And I remember noticing it in my Drive in like spring 2020. And I clicked on it and I looked at it and I was like, what the heck is this? There were no workspaces, because if you've never created a workspace, it's just currently blank. There was just that row of AI predicted files at the top. And I thought to myself, I don't need this. I could not understand why I would ever want to use priority. Fast forward 6 months, a colleague of mine, we were talking and she goes, oh, I use priority all the time. And I'm thinking, okay, but why? And she explained to me why she used priority. And mind blown, priority can be a game changer for accessing your files faster. So this is what priority looks like. Let's talk about making it your default homepage, because if you love priority as much as I do, you will want to make it your default homepage. So you'll go to the gear icon for settings, and then at the bottom under general where it says suggestions, you're going to want to click on the box, it's highlighted in red, that says make priority my default homepage. This means anytime you open up your Google Drive, it will automatically open to priority. Now, I've been operating in my starred page a little bit more than priority the last couple of months, but I still like having priority be my homepage. It's a reminder to me to look at those AI predicted files. It's a reminder to me to like make sure my workspaces are organized. And If you don't have quick access enabled already, you can enable it by clicking on the Surface Important People and Files in Share. Nope, sorry, not the middle one. I need to fix this. I resized and my boxes got off. It's the first one. Make relevant files handy when you need them in quick access. So the first and the third. First will turn on quick access. Second will make priority your homepage. Now I'm going to dig into Workspaces. Any questions in the chat about priority and that I should address before moving on?
Nope, not yet. I am waiting to see. Let's go.
All right. So Workspaces. So you know how when you have a project in your house, like maybe you're making a lamp shade cover. And so you grab your fabric that you need for it. You grab your hot glue gun, you grab your tape, you grab some yarn, you grab some paint. Maybe you're going to add some metal pieces to it. So you go and add those and maybe a hammer from the garage. So you gather all these tools together and you use them for this project. But when you're done, you don't want them staying together because your fabric all belongs in one place and the hammer needs to go back into its toolbox in the garage. And so you gather all these items for the project you're working on. And then when you're done with the project, you want those items to go back to where they belong. Workspaces is like that. Workspaces will take your files that you add and puts them in one place so that you can access them for that project. The files live in their original home location. So you're not making a copy of them and then your files aren't communicating and getting updated at the same time. It's a shortcut. Workspaces are a shortcut to the files you want to use, which is fantastic. Now, if you're thinking in your head, Kate, that's great, but why wouldn't I just have all the files grouped together in a folder? Well, when we talk about Google organization, the files you put in folders are files that are similar or on the same theme. So like all the files for all the agendas for my classes that I teach are in one place. But I might want to access the agenda. I might want to access a Google Sheet that my class is using. I might want to access a variety of files that all live in different folders. And so Workspace is that quick way to put all those files in one place so that you don't have to go clicking between folders to get to them. So I'm going to demo for you how to create a workspace, how to add and remove files, and then hiding and removing workspaces. So this is my drive. You can see it's set to priority. And so I've got my AI predicted files up here and I can just toggle the arrow to get to them. And I've got my workspaces down here. And because I already have workspaces that are created, you'll see that I have a create button, or if I scroll down, oh, it's not going to show it to me right now. Let's remove this one really quickly. Every so often, you'll see suggested workspaces. Right now, I don't have any suggested workspaces. Google's AI is like, you don't have any files that we would group together. And so those are the two ways to create your workspaces. You can either create, or if you have a suggested workspaces, you can click on the suggested workspaces. Suggested workspaces are the AI predicting what files they think should go together, and they will let you then create a workspace based on that. So when I want to create a workspace, really simple, tap the create button, title it, with whatever you want, and then click create. It creates my workspace and it opens this pop-up screen, and automatically it suggests, hey, we think there are files you might want to add to your workspace. Cool, great. Maybe I want these files. If I do, I'll click on them and I can choose add selected files. But maybe I didn't want those ones, so I didn't actually click on them. I always have the option to add other files. And when you open add other files, you will see that you have a lot of ways to find files. You can search for them. You can find them in the different pages, and it gives you a lot to look through. And you can select multiple files at a time. You don't have to hold anything down, just happily click away. And when you're done, click Insert. And then make sure you click the Done button in the bottom corner. My workspace is now created, and it will live down here. There's a couple of limits we should talk about right now. First limit, you can only have 8 active workspaces. So you will only be able to see 8 workspaces in this area. Second limit, you can only add 25 files to a workspace. And the third limit, you cannot add folders to workspaces. So it has to be individual files, which might be frustrating to some of you, but I promise there are other shortcuts that will make, if you're going, Workspace isn't gonna work for me. There will be other shortcuts that may work better for your personal needs. So these are my workspaces. What happens though, if I'm not in priority, if I'm just looking at my drive and I want to add a file to it? Well, unlike other options, you cannot have a file open and add it to a workspace. You can, however, be looking at a file in any of the drive pages. And if you right click on it, one of the options you will have will be to add to workspace. And you can select from your current workspaces, or you can create a brand new one from this kind of menu. So again, that's right clicking on the file you want, add to workspace, selecting the workspace you want it to add to, or creating a brand new workspace for it. So what happens when you have 8 workspaces and you need more? Well, you have a couple of options. You can either decide, I'm done with the files in this workspace. I'm done with this workspace. I do not need to come back to it. And if that is your choice, you can click on the 3 dots and remove the workspace. You can also hide the workspace. So if it's a workspace that you're going to want to come back to, you can hide it, and then it goes into this hidden workspaces area here. And just click on the arrow. It won't show you the files in your workspace. It will just show you the title of your workspace. But if you click on it, you can then see your files. You can also choose to unhide it. And while we are in here, we didn't talk about removing files. It's the 3 dots to the right. If you click on them, you can remove. Oh, like it is there. Oh. Sorry, guys. I was pretty certain it was. Oh, you know what? Because it's in one of my hidden ones. Hold up. It has to be an active workspace, but you can click remove from workspace in your active workspace. In your hidden ones, you can't remove them from the workspace. So it's got to be an active workspace for you to remove it. But those 3 dots for the files show up without opening the workspace itself, which is really, really nice. So a couple of workspace reminders. Only 8 active workspaces. Other workspaces can be hidden or removed. There's a 25 file limit in each workspace. You can only add files, not folders, and the files still exist in their original locations. Any questions about workspaces or anything that has come up?
We have so many people excited. We have people already creating their workspaces. We have questions, but you're answering them as it goes. So let me see. Is a hidden workspace, or I should say, does a hidden workspace count as part of your 8?
It does not. So I don't know how many you can hide, but it does not count as one of your 8 active ones.
Okay, I wasn't able to read this one, so I'm gonna read it out loud. I am wondering if the files can appear in a workspace and a folder.
Yes, so they exist. So unlike my tool metaphor, where like if I take my hammer from my toolbox and bring it inside the house, my hammer now exists inside the house. your files will exist in their original location. So it doesn't make a copy, it's just almost a shortcut to that file.
Okay, and he says, if you're done with a file, I am not sure what happens to it after you're done with it in the workspace. I don't want the file to be deleted.
It won't. If you remove it from the workspace, it just goes back. It doesn't go, I don't want to say it goes back to its original location. It was never away from its original location. So if you remove it from the workspace, you're just removing that quick access shortcut to it.
Correct. And you said that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And people are just excited. They're excited about all of this.
I kind of want to show you one of my workspaces and why, and kind of explain why this works for not having things in the multiple folders. I'm part of the Leadership for Diversity Committee for CSLA, and I want to access my meeting agenda. We're doing a book study on concrete rows. There's minutes, there's files from our recent presentation that I want to access. And all of that, if I look in my drive, all of that exists in the CSLA Leadership for Diversity Committee, but it exists in nested folders. So if I'm in the middle of a Leadership for Diversity Committee meeting and I want to access the files I need for that meeting, I've got to click through these folders and open it. Versus if I put all that stuff that I need in my workspace, I just have to click on it from my workspace. So I just wanted to give you a concrete example as to why workspaces can be beneficial. All right, so let's talk about Starred, because Starred is another shortcut. Starred is quick access, like Workspaces. Like Workspaces, the files that you star exist in their original location, but they also exist in the starred page. But unlike Workspaces, you can star folders. So you can add folders to your starred page. And I think of starred as temporary access. Starred is the stuff I want to get to quickly for a short period of time, even if that short period of time is a semester of school. And they're not going to live there forever. So your starred drive is on the left-hand, or your starred page is on the left-hand side. And this is what's currently on my starred page. You'll see that I have folders. You'll see that I have files that I want to access. And sometimes when you're looking at the AI predicted files, you have a file you want to access, but it's not showing up there and you don't want to go through recent. Starred is a good shortcut to get to those files quickly and consistently. You're not dependent on the AI to say, hey, we think you might want this file. So this is how you get to Starred. Left-hand side, it's the starred page here. Starred is beautiful because you can add folders and files to it. You can also, when you're back in my drive, you can easily right click on it and you can just choose add to starred if you're in my drive, or if you have a file that is open, right next to its title is a star. So you can easily add this file when it is open to starred. You don't have to be back looking at your drive. You can just really quickly click the star and it will add it straight to starred. So now if I go to starred, it exists right there. If I want to remove it from starred, I can just right click on it, choose remove from starred, and that file is now removed. Starred is a good place to quickly access things. And I like that you can access files and folders. So the classes I'm currently teaching, I'm keeping those folders as starred because it makes my life just a little easier. So any questions about starred before we move on?
None at this time.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk renaming hacks. If you do not follow Jennifer Laban on Twitter, I've put her Twitter handle on the top right-hand side. And in January, she did an amazing webinar with Dr. Alexander. And so I have provided the link to that as well, because these renaming hacks, while I knew some of them come from her, and I wanted to give credit to where it exists. So another quick way to access items in your Drive, and this counts for folders, files, and folders and files nested within other folders. There are a couple of things you can easily do. And they are all about renaming them. You can rename them and put a space in front of the title. So that first one, student resources, that has a space in front of student, and that moved that folder. Even though it starts with an S, it moved it all the way up to the top of my Drive. You can also add emojis to them. If you are not using the emoji shortcut, I absolutely love it. On a PC, it is Windows, the Windows key plus the period, or Windows plus the semicolon. On a Mac, it is Control Command Space. There are two ways of accessing it on a Chromebook. One is to enable the on-screen keyboard, and then that will give you the option to access the emoji keyboard. There is also a shortcut, but as it goes with all things, I found the shortcut when I was teaching some scholars how to access it on their Chromebooks, and I didn't write it down, and now I can't remember what the shortcut is for the emoji keyboard on Chromebooks. But it exists. I know, I've tried it. And the reason why I include Jennifer Laban's information for you is she dropped in that webinar that she has played around with the emojis, and Google does alphabetize the emojis. I don't know how they alphabetize them. You could reach out to her on Twitter and ask her. She said she spent some intensive time. You could also, if you have the time, just play with all the emojis and see how it alphabetizes them if you would like. But it does alphabetize them. So if you're using multiple emojis, you might start to see that they're in a certain order. You can also add a number. And when you add the numbers, I've added two types of numbers. I've added the numbers from the emoji keyboard, which Google actually read as numbers, not as emojis. So they put them in numerical order. Or you can add just a number from your keyboard. It will put them in numerical order, but a word of warning, sometimes it gets a little funky. And if it starts with 1, it will be at the front, versus if it's like, it doesn't always play nice when you get into double-digit numbers. So you may want to think about that as you are playing around with renaming them. But renaming them is a great way to move them to the top of either the folders or the top of the files if you don't want to add them to Starred or you don't want to add them to a workspace. Any questions about, before I ask questions, if you don't want to use the shortcuts to access your emoji keyboard, you can also add in the extension by Joy Pixels, and I've provided a link to that as well. So any questions about renaming hacks?
We do have a question about workspaces.
Okay, I'll go back.
Can a workspace be shared with another person?
It cannot. So workspaces are private. I would say if you want to share with another person, your shared drives are the way to do that, but that totally depends on your organization. My organization has it enabled, but only if I submit a work order for it. Some organizations have it locked down entirely. Some have it open. So.
And what you said about the emojis, if you move your cursor over each emoji, it actually has a name. And that's how Google organizes your emojis, is by the emoji name.
See, someone knew. The room is always smarter than the individual. That's awesome. So that is how you figure out where your emojis are going to land when you use them. Thank you for whoever provided that.
And that's it for questions.
Awesome. I'm going to spend some time on adding a shortcut. I don't know about you, but I first saw shortcuts in my Drive, especially, I'll come back to this in just a minute, especially with Shared With Me. When you right click on a file in Shared With Me, you're given a couple of options. You're given that you can move it to your Drive. This one won't let me move it. Let's find one that will let me move it. Wow. Sometimes they'll let you move it, sometimes they won't. Mine apparently are not letting me move to my Drive, but I saw this add shortcut to Drive a while ago and I was like, why would I add a shortcut to Drive? It was like priority. I frequently look at my Drive and I'm like, cool, Google, you launched these things. I don't know why I want to use them. But then I clicked on this little button and I was like, oh, okay. Shortcuts link to the original, allowing an item to appear in more than one location. Well, Star does that and Workspaces do it. So why would I want to add a shortcut to my Drive? And the why is a big thing here. Like why? Okay, why would I add shortcut to Drive? And it dawned on me. I don't want to add everything that's shared with me to my Drive. I want to be able to access it, but I don't want to add it to my Drive because I want to keep my Drive nice and organized for me. And I know that there are people who, especially teachers, our scholars are sharing things with us and it's hard to find in the Shared With Me. And you can search by their name and find it that way, but it's just difficult. The shortcut, and so if you've got kids sharing things with you, you also don't want to add them all to your Drive because then you've got to clean out your Drive. So shortcut is a beautiful workaround for this. And it avoids the need for making a copy or adding it to your Drive. The other beautiful thing about shortcuts are when you attend conferences, when you attend webinars, and you get access to people's presentations, their files, sometimes they will force you to make a copy, and that's their choice and it's fine. But sometimes, like today, you have view access to this presentation. And so you might decide, oh, I really liked this presentation. I want to keep it. If you make a copy, you now have a static version of this presentation. And I'm going to tell you that there are some things that I want to add to this presentation. There are some things I'm going to drop in the speaker notes that I just haven't had a moment to do. And so if you make a copy of this presentation, when I update it, you will not have that information at all. You will only have the copy that you made. But you may also decide, I like this presentation, but I don't like it enough to for it to have a permanent home in my Drive. Because the moment you add something to your Drive, it exists in my Drive. That is the place where it now lives. And if you get rid of it from my Drive, it is going to the trash, and in 30 days, it will disappear. Shortcuts prevent that from happening unless it happens on the owner's end. So shortcuts, add it to your Drive without taking it from its original location. So for example, I really wanted this agenda. I'm going to add a shortcut to my Drive for it. I'm going to choose that it's just going to live in my Drive right now. You'll see that it still lives in Shared With Me. But now if I go to my Drive, and it was number 23, you'll see that it lives here too. But unlike the other icons before the title of the file, this one has a tiny little arrow and a little half circle cut out of it. If I see this, it means this is a shortcut and that I have added a shortcut to my Drive and that this is not the original location for this file. So now if this gets updated, I can easily find it here. I don't have to go search shared with me. I can add this to a folder that I want it to be added to, and it will exist in both places. This is just a quick way to get to it. Now, is it a quick way to get to it like in my disorganized drive? No, it's not. But it can be a quicker way than searching shared with me. And so you can do this with folders too. If I scroll up, you'll see that I've got 3 folders that are all shortcuts. And so everything in them, while I can add to them, it is still getting added to the original location. But this is just a fast way for me to access this folder without adding it to my drive. And so you can add easily shortcuts by right-clicking on it. I'm going to go find something else. But if I open it, and actually Jamboard was a bad one to open, sorry. If I have the file open, I can also add a shortcut from here. Oh, sometimes. Not this particular file. It will give me the option up here to add a shortcut. It will look like this icon here, the drive icon with a plus. And so you can also just click on that icon and add the shortcut to your drive. A couple of caveats about shortcuts. Like Starred, like Workspaces, the files exist in their original location. So if you delete them from Starred, if you remove them from Starred, if you remove them from Workspaces, or if you go back and you choose remove from a shortcut, they will still exist in their original location. But it gets scary with the shortcut, because when I go to remove it from a shortcut, so I'll right click on this one, I don't get remove shortcut. I simply get remove. And so if you look at this and you go, oh God, I don't want to click that remove, like that's super scary. Am I going to remove this file from its original location? The answer is no. Again, if you are in a shortcut and you choose to remove it, you are only removing the shortcut. You are not removing the file from its original location. So I'm going to click on remove here. You'll see that it says, and so this is scary too. You get this pop-up message and you're like, it's telling me that this is going to be deleted forever after 30 days and I'm moving it to the trash. Kate, I'm not clicking move to trash. I do not want to lose this. Trust me, you're not going to. You are only moving the shortcut to trash. So you'll see in my pop-up, it says shortcut moved to trash. It doesn't say the file, it said shortcut. If I go back to shared with me, and again, that was the number 23, it is still here in shared with me. So you can clean up your drive by removing shortcuts, but you will still have access to the file in its original location. So if you added that shortcut from shared with me, you will still have access to it there, but not in 2 cases. So let's talk about the 2 cases where things might change on you. So you add a shortcut to a file and the owner decides a week later, a month later, a year later, to change access levels on that file. What happens to your shortcut? It's the same as what happens if you tried to open it from shared with me. You'll get a message saying, actually, you won't get a message this time. It will show a little lock icon. So it will be gray like this. It will be a lock icon, and that will show that you no longer have access to it. You will also see that icon on the You will only see that icon on the shortcut, because the moment a person removes your access, it is no longer in the shared with me. So let's say that the colleague who shared this with me decided to take my access off of it. I would no longer see it here, but my shortcut back in my drive, I would see a lock icon on it letting me know that I no longer have access to that file. If you suspect that someone is going to remove your access to something, that is when you may want to make a copy of it. You also make a copy if you want to edit it for yourself too. So that's what happens if the owner changes access. Now, what happens if the owner decides to trash their original document? In the case that an owner trashes their original document, on both the shortcut and the original location for that file, you will see a gray trash can. That gray trash can lets you know that this file has been trashed. You do have a short window of time to click on the file, and you will then be prompted to make your own copy. But if you miss that window of time, or you clicked on the file and you were like, I don't want to make a copy, you're going to lose your opportunity to make a copy of that file. So keep that in mind. The owners can ultimately mess with your shortcuts inadvertently by restricting your access or by trashing the file that you had provided a shortcut to. Any questions about shortcuts?
Hello.
Yes, Fred, go ahead.
Hello, Kate and Doctor. My question is, when we get files that are shared with me, is there a way that I can remove them from shared with me, or that doesn't happen?
Oh yeah, you can.
Thank you.
I actually never, I never clean up my shared with me drive, because I don't know. I view shared with me as like this bin that's just collecting things. So I like to make sure I'm never accessing it. But if there was something that I did not want in shared with me anymore, I'm trying to think what I could.
You can right click on it and remove it.
Yeah.
Like anything else.
And so there's a trash can at the bottom and you can just remove it. So I know some people don't like the overwhelming shared with me. And so you can totally clean up your shared with me if you would like.
Thank you.
How do I get notifications of files or folders that are shared with me? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I just answered that in the chat. You get an email, or you just click on share with me.
I've never received them in my emails. So is there a setting?
No, and when I share something with you, I can click to notify you or not.
Oh.
So if I don't click to notify you, you won't be notified. If I do click it, you'll get an email. But it just appears under share with me. So that's the only way you'll know, is if they click to notify you.
Okay, so I just have to constantly check.
Yeah, unfortunately, unless they click to notify you.
Okay, thank you. If that makes sense.
Paula asks, how can you help students organize in Workspace?
So if I were going to have students organize in Workspace, I would have them organize by the project that they're currently working on. I would, and it depends on how organized their teacher is. Depending if my scholars were doing a major research project, they might have documents that they have saved from our databases, and those go into the database folder in their drive. And so I might tell them, you want to add those files to the workspace, you want to add your research note cards to the workspace, you want to add your annotated bibliography to your workspace, but they're working on a bigger project in which they have multiple files that they need to access. But for smaller assignments where they only have one file, I don't know if a workspace would be the best for them to use. And I don't know if they would want to organize it by class as well. They could. There are 8 active workspaces, so you could have all, if you have 6 periods, you could have all 6. If you had 7, you could have all 7 there. But it would be helping them to determine what they need quick access to on the daily. And so I do a weekly agenda. I don't know if my scholars want to add the weekly agenda to their workspace every single week, but they certainly could. But if I had a running weekly agenda where all the agendas were in one place, I would say add that file to your workspace so that you can always access it. Again, it depends on the need.
Okay, we have another question. If you can only have 8 active workspaces at a time, do you have to hide one to get access to a different workspace that is already hidden?
Yes, you do. The same goes if you want to create a brand new one and you already have 8 active ones. You will be prompted to hide one.
Yes, I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
Sure can, Rachel, go right ahead.
Okay. When students create a document from Google Classroom, so that they go into the assignment and they click from there, does that then show up in their drive, and could they create workspaces with assignments currently pending?
It does. And I think that students don't realize it lives in their drive. So Google Classroom will automatically create a classroom folder for you, whether you are a teacher or a student in the class. And so within my classroom folder, you can see all the classes that I have taught, that I have created, that I have been a part of. And so ones that have had assignments, and this makes it difficult from the teacher end to show, ones where assignments have been assigned to me. So in this honors chemistry course, if the teacher had assigned any files to me, they would exist here. And this would be how I could easily access them. I always tell my scholars, you know how you get started on an assignment that's posted in Google Classroom and then you have to go to your next class and you close that and now you can't find it ever again? This is how you get to it in Drive.
Okay. I do not seem to have a folder labeled classroom. I have checked my trash. I have checked everywhere. Is there a way to create one of those?
Sorry, Rachel, I'm thinking about that one. I can't. I thought it created automatically for you.
It does. And if you delete it at any point, it makes your drive go crazy and it will put all the student work all over your drive. And then, so the solution is to go to trash and get it back. If it's not in trash, I do not know. So Rachel, I'm going to put my email address for you and we may have to research that and check on that.
Okay, I'll ask my tech guy too. So yeah, I've searched and searched. So thank you. I appreciate your effort there.
I have a question, but it's not directly related to workspaces.
Then no, Cheryl, you keep your question to yourself. No, of course. Bring it, Cheryl.
We started using Peer Deck this year, which is really good in terms of interaction with students that are online. But the problem I'm having is that I've saved a whole bunch of student takeaways to my drive. And so I have them from first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and we're now in fourth quarter. And if I try to delete them and like pull them up, it pulls up my originals as well as all 110 students. So I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to efficiently just get rid of my kids' takeaways and keep my original presentation.
I personally have no idea about that. Kate, do you or does any of the audience have any idea about that? Because I have no clue.
I've used Pear Deck a little, but I'm going to click through my folder for it. And I'll let you know if I
contact them and ask them. I just thought there's got to be a better way, you know. I just can't figure out what it is. And, you know, some of the teachers don't even print out their takeaways, but I like it as evidence as to why I didn't give them full credit for doing it, or you can go back and redo it if they didn't do it all. Some of them don't even give them a grade for it, but I know if I don't make them accountable, they don't all do it, you know.
So Cheryl, you're saying that like if I delete this student's one, it's still available like in my teacher takeaways?
No, what happens is if I type up the name of what I called that particular peer deck, it'll pull up all 110 kids, and mine is somewhere in the middle of that mess. And I can't figure out how to just pull mine out and dump theirs.
So
Oh, you're on a move. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
have you trashed theirs?
No, I've been afraid to, because every time I pull it out, it's like, unless I do it one at a time, which would take forever.
Well, you can right click and select multiple files. So if you were in like their period one, you could just then remove them all that way. But then if you didn't want to find them in search, you'd want to go into trash and permanently remove them.
Is it, couldn't you just, if you're looking at like 110 and you see yours in the middle, couldn't you just move that one file into like my drive and then delete all the rest and then move it back?
It doesn't see, I can't figure out the logic as to where they put mine, it seems like it's in a different place all the time. So I'm sorting through it all the time, trying to find it.
Yeah, I think that's just gonna be life. I don't think that's I think that's just what you're gonna have to do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. I don't know how you would just have to find yours and delete the rest.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, we are going to wrap up, everybody. So thank you so very much, Kate. This was amazing. The evaluations are coming in. Everybody's just like, my mind is blown. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity. And I hope you all find ways to access your drive faster.